Good morning. For gem number 9, I'm going to go through Photo Booth on the MacBook Pro. It looks to me like it's going to be a little grainier, but it will certainly be very easy to review and for me to deal with, so forgive me if it is a lower quality. Today I wanted to talk about, I said in some earlier videos, some of my GEMS videos, that Alcoholics Anonymous is, that I learned a great deal there, that it's about a lot more than not drinking and not using. You probably hear my dog's jingle bells. Anyway, today I wanted to give some examples of specific stories, things that I heard in Alcoholics Anonymous that really helped me. The first one I want to talk about has to do with making assumptions. I'm doing a lot of reading, as I've shared in some other gems, about left brain, right brain, and there's a great video, I believe it's a TED video, by the way, that shows an animated ladder in the brain and what happens when something happens to us. It's a great video. If I remember, I'll try to find a link and post it. But what it says, and all of these left brain, right brain things that I'm reading talk about, when my storyteller, as Jill Bolte Taylor refers to it, on the left side of my brain wants to talk to me and narrate the world and what's happening for me, it will fill in the blanks if it doesn't have the facts. It will, and it's usually in the way that it will fill it in with the most ugly thing, in my case, that it can figure out. If somebody looks at me funny, it will tell me that they're upset with me when, maybe they just have gas. What do I know? So anyway, I heard this as a story in someone's talk. This really happened to this person, but it's indicative of what happens when we make assumptions, when our left brain storyteller tells us that it knows the facts, and then we act on what the facts are. So the story goes like this. There's a couple that met and married at AA, so they were both sober. They both had lives before when they were partying and being crazy, where they probably had been with multiple other partners and so forth. But, this is a nice married AA couple that practices the 12-step program in their lives. And they're laying in bed one night, and the husband turns over, and he kind of throws his leg across his wife's lower body, and she says to him, "You sleep just like Jim Parks." And he is taken back. He's thinking, I don't want to hear about her old lovers. I don't know, who the heck is Jim Parks? And why would I want to know that? Why would she tell me that? And eats away at him. He begins to resent her having said that. And he's really upset. But to his credit, a day and a half later, at breakfast, 2 mornings later, he says to her, I've got something that's really been bothering me. And she says, "What is it?" And he says, "I don't want to hear about your old lovers." And she says, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "Jim Parks." And she goes, "What? Who?" And he says, "The other night when we were laying in bed and I threw my leg over, you said that I sleep just like Jim Parks." And her shoulders kind of drop and she says, "Jim, the guy across the street that parks his car on the lawn like this, you sleep just like Jim Parks." I loved it. I loved it because I can understand why he would think what he thought. I can understand why his left brain storyteller would come up with that as what she's talking about, based on the context in which it was said. That sounded like a fact to me too. But she was not talking about some guy that she used to sleep with. It's a great story. I love that. I've personally had situations. There was a guy that used to go to meetings where, this is 25 years ago probably, and he was 6'4", tan, full head of hair, mustache. He was looked like a man's man. Muscular, single, but he wasn't my type because I always went for the baby faces. And this guy was kind of what's the guy's name on Tom Selleck, kind of Tom Selleck looking, which was never my style. I always went for baby face. So, and his name was Burl. He even had a burly name, you know. So I was free to be friends with him. This is during my single days. I was free to be friends with him. And Burl worked in one city, and then he lived an hour away. So he would come home on the weekends and stay in a company apartment during the week. And I was going to be visiting a relative in the town where he was working. And he said, oh, well, call me. We'll go to dinner or something. So I met him, and we went to dinner, and I was a little, because I'm a single woman, he's a single man. I don't know what's going on, you know, and I was clueless, especially then. And we had dinner, he paid, we went back to his apartment, and he said, you want to watch some TV? I said, sure. The only TV was in his bedroom. Now, he didn't come on to me. I'm sure I had a brick wall around me, but when he walked me to my car when I said I had to leave, and he said, you don't have to leave, you know. I said, no, I have to leave. So I left, he walked me to my car, and he kissed me not like a friend would, I don't think, not like a make-out kiss, but, you know, I was confused. But I thought, you know, he's just all the women are Burl's women, you know, he's just, you know. So the following Saturday, the two of us were at an AA meeting that we always went to, and this particular meeting gave out chips, tokens for various lengths of sobriety, and he and I were newly sober then, and I was 3 months separated from his, and they were giving out chips, it turned out, that night for both of our dates, and I remembered that we were 3 months apart. Now, I hadn't talked to him since I had dinner with him and went to his apartment during the week, and he was sitting in the front row. There's an aisle between us. We're both in the front row of rows of chairs, and I'm in the front row of this one, and he's in the front row of this one, and so we're really just across an aisle from each other. Next to him sits his sponsor, who sponsored a lot of single men in AA. And behind him was sitting a woman that I knew he used to date. And very pretty woman. And so when I realized it was, you know, that we would each be getting chips, I thought, I wonder if he realizes. And I leaned over across the aisle and held out my hand and said, Burl, it's, you know, we're each taking a chip tonight, you know. And he acted surprised, and he was excited, and he turned to his sponsor, and the woman behind him that he used to date leaned forward and gave him a kiss, you know, like a congratulations kiss. And I heard his sponsor say to him under his breath, be careful, she'll get jealous. And I thought, you son of a, what did you tell, you know, I thought this, what did you tell your sponsor? And I was so upset because I decided that he had made something out of our time together during the week that wasn't true and made it like I was after him, or I didn't know. My head was trying to tell me something. I just remember that I wrote him off. That's it. I am not going to be friends with this guy anymore. If he can't even tell the truth, you know, forget it. So during the break, I was over at the literature table because I was in charge of literature at the time at the meeting. He's completely oblivious to the fact that I've written him off. He comes bounding over to me, happy and, you know, Burl, you know, and he says, hi, you know, and hugs me and stuff, and which everybody hugs at meetings. And before I could shun him properly and let him know how ticked off I was, because I'm sure I wouldn't have been direct at the time, he proceeds to tell me that his ex-wife was in the audience because there had been an Al-Anon meeting upstairs in the same hospital where this meeting was. Been an Al-Anon meeting, that's where the family and friends of the alcoholic go. And she had been in the audience that night, and that's, I figured out quickly, thank goodness, who his sponsor was talking about might be jealous. It wasn't me at all. My self-centered fear makes everything about me. And, you know, if I call, it's interesting to me, I can call one person and they don't call me back and it's no big deal. But somebody that I've got an emotional attachment to, I've got some emotional, you know, there's an emotional connection there that's expensive if I lose it or harm it. If they don't call back, I've written it in stone that they didn't call back. You know, it's like we don't apply always, at least I don't, the same requirements, guidelines to our friends. You know, I have a good friend who, she'll call, you know, one person can do something to her, and it's no big deal. If this other person does it to her, she's devastated. And so what's the message there, all of this is about what's going on inside of us. The biggest thing that I learned in AA and everywhere else, through all the work I've done, is that I have to become what I want to attract. I'm going to do another video about relationships, some stuff that I learned a long time ago about relationships. I'll make a separate one out of that. And one more AA story, because I don't know how, I don't have my glasses on so that there's no glare, so I can't see how long this video has been going. But I'm going to go ahead and do the last AA story that I can think of at the moment that I want to do. This is a 9-step story. Anybody that knows the 12 steps knows that step 8 is we make a list of all the people we've harmed, and we become willing to make amends to them all. Amends can look like a lot of different things. In step 9, we make direct amends to such people, except when to do so would injure them or others. This is a true story of a guy in the LA area who sponsored a guy. Sponsor is the person who kind of mentors somebody through the steps. And this particular guy used to do, I can't remember if it was window cleaning or home repair or something like that. He did something that required him to be inside people's homes, sometimes when they weren't there. And because he had a drug and alcohol problem, he used to steal from them. He would kind of case the place and then go back later and steal from them. And he had been sober for 5 years or so, and he was working on his 9th step amends. And he called his sponsor. Sponsor's the one I heard tell the story. He called his sponsor one day and said, you know, I've been to all of these other houses and met with the people, and I'm just at this last house, and I'm hesitant to go in. Now, I'm going to interject something. At any one of those houses, he could have, if they had called the police or something or pressed charges, he could have been arrested. People get that this is a sincere endeavor. And you know, if they do that, then that's the consequences of what he did. But this is a wise, brave man for doing this, and good for him. He's at the last house, and he doesn't even know if the people are still there. It was 5 years ago. They were an elderly couple, and you know, it's just his last one. He feels tough about it. His sponsor says, "Do you want me to come in and go with you?" And he says, "No, no, no. I just wanted to check in with you." He says, "Okay, well, call me when you're done." He goes to the door, and they still live there. And they remember him, and they invite him in, and they're happy to see him. And come on in, have some tea and cookies, and you know. And they're so nice, he's really hesitating to tell them. And he finally says, "I need to tell you why I'm here." And they said, "Okay." And he said, 5 years ago, I broke into your home and stole things. And rather than, I guess, whatever response he was expecting, they began to ask questions. Like, well, why did you take this particular piece, you know? And he said, well, it looked valuable. And why did you move the painting over the fireplace, the family portrait? Why did you, you know, move that? And he said, because I thought maybe there was a safe behind it. And so they keep asking questions, and finally he says, I need to know, what do you want me to, what can I do to make it right? And their answer to him was stunning. They said, you already have. And he said, I don't understand. And they said, all these years we thought our son did it. You know, we don't always know when we make amends to other people, whether it's a 12-step amends or just amends. We don't always know the impact that it may have on their lives. It's just the right thing to do. And there's more, but I think I'm going to save Otto for another video. Okay, hope you're having a great day. Bye.